Sports. Ah, man, I miss reporting on this. Well, SJV of Brotherly Lives is back, and I'm ready to just do sports and talk sports and just sports. Okay, this has been a crazy week, guys. So Sunday in the NFL, we already know what happened. Saw Carson Wentz go down with a torn ACL. We saw Pittsburgh come back from an 11-point deficit against the Ravens and win the game. Now, am I really high about that Pittsburgh victory? No. And here's why. Because there are times when they can look dominant, and then there are times when they have to squeak by. And that kind of bothers me because I remember that Tennessee game when they were just firing on all cylinders. They were just throwing the ball, running the ball. And, for the past few weeks, they've actually just relied on their kicker to really take him, and he's been on fire, but they've just relied on Chris Boswell to kick game winners, and it somehow worked. And it just bothers me, And then we have last night, the Monday night, when Patriots lose by 7 to the goddamn Miami Dolphins, which is very embarrassing. And considering that they're 28th overall offense, I don't really. There's really no excuse for that. There's really not. I would have to credit Miami's defense more, just because I think their defensive line really impacted the Patriots, because without Gronkowski, Tom Brady doesn't have that target over the middle, So I think it was so difficult last night to really pick apart that secondary, because Gronk is not roaming through the middle. Then Brandon Cooks can't attack you over the top, and then he doesn't have Danny Amendola or Chris Hogan, who can run around and get open off of those little short drag routes in the middle. So that leaves you to play more man-to-man, which can work, and the safeties can cheat up or play basically double cover Brandon Cooks over the top. With Gronkowski, you don't have a chance of doing that because he's such a big threat. So had Gronk not been suspended, I think New England wins that game, and I think they have a better chance of running the ball, because last night they couldn't do it. There was no way they were going to have a good running game against that defense, because they couldn't establish the passing game. And the fact that you only have 2 yards in the first quarter, I really don't even want to get into it anymore. I just really don't. They're still the number 2 overall offense. Tom Brady's still, I think, the best quarterback in the NFL besides Aaron Rodgers. I just think, I know their defense has improved recently, because even though they're the 28th overall ranked defense, 20th, yeah, definitely 28th, their scoring defense has really, I think, protected them, because they have, which everybody knows, the bend but don't break, which means they're only allowing field goals most of the time, except for last night. Even though I think midway through the third quarter, their defense somehow turned it up and just did not allow them to score. What I really thought was, I thought they were going to give up. Honestly, I thought they were going to give up more points, just because New England on offense seemed very stagnant and was not moving the ball. So it was kind of worrying me a little bit, but it for some reason, their defense, I think, played with more intensity than their offense did, even though they were able to score twice, which is ridiculous. And then you go, what is it, 0 for 11 on third down, or is it they went 0 for something. 0 for 11 sounds about right, but they went 0 for something, and it's kind of ridiculous. It's very ridiculous. There's no reason that this should happen. So, that's my takeaway. That Pittsburgh-New England matchup coming up this weekend, I'm picking New England to win that game. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think what ultimately decides it is New England running the ball. I think the real key to beating Pittsburgh is you really have to, like beating the Patriots, you got to keep that offense off the field. Because it seems like when the fourth quarter rolls around, and I'd say they're within, their team, if they're within 2 touchdowns, they are a legitimate threat to come back and win the game anytime. Just because Big Ben and then freaking Antonio Brown, they just have this thing where on any given play, Antonio Brown can get open and he can burn you. You know, and I think matching freaking Brandon Carr, who's like one of the slowest corners in the league, with Antonio Brown, he's not the fastest, but he can get behind a secondary. Not like Deshaun Jackson, not like Brandon Cooks, but he can get behind a secondary in any given moment. So I think it'll be a close game. New England has to stop the run too, which is going to be tough because they're not particularly good in the run game either. Their pass defense has gotten better, even though I think it's still subpar to what it could be. And another thing that really bothered me when I was watching the game was just how, I mean, it seemed like Stephon Gilmore was, which I think is a good idea. He was playing off a little bit and running under his defense when he was like playing Devontae Parker, which, I mean, okay, because that prevents bigger plays, but Stephon Gilmore's a big guy too. I think people forget that he's easily 6'1", 6'2", while Devontae Parker can really run at 6'3", which he's a big guy. I think ultimately, if you make it harder for him to catch passes, then I think he would have had a tougher night, especially Jay Cutler. But they didn't generate a pass rush. They couldn't stop Kenyon Drake from running the ball for big yards. So that was, it was just an overall bad night for New England. Of course, they're moving on to Pittsburgh. Hopefully they get Trey Flowers back. Hopefully they get back Kyle Van Noy. I think if they get those guys back, they get Gronk back. They control time of possession. I think they can roll over Pittsburgh, get the number 1 seed, and get the victory. I just have that feeling. I want to kind of move on to basketball. Nothing's really going on in basketball right now, which is kind of, the only big headline would be that, OKC just cannot stop losing to bad teams. How do you lose to Charlotte? I just really want to know. Now, one thing that I've seen when I watch them, which is really crazy because against Golden State when they played a few weeks ago, something just clicked. And it was like every other game I've seen, they didn't really have that it factor. Like, they all played well. But against Golden State, they were locked in. Russell Westbrook was locked in. Freaking PG. Well, PG always seems locked in to me. It seems like he's the only one who's really consistently locked in, ready to score. Even I can't say that really. I cannot say that about Russell Westbrook because he's always going to average a triple-double. He's pretty close. He's actually averaging 23.99, but technically that's triple-double, so whatever. But Carmelo, he's really been very inconsistent. They really haven't shot the ball, like, all three of them very well. I think they're all shooting below 44, 43%, not shooting great percentage from three. And what I think has really kept them from really sinking below in the record column is that their defense is just, they really get after it. They're a top 4 defense in the league. So they really get after it in a way where they're not gonna allow a lot of points. What their offense is hurting them, they have to figure it out soon, because if they really get behind these next few months before the All-Star break, it's going to be so tough. Because what happens is, to me, what I think is teams like Golden State in the West, it's kind of like, well, I think for a lot of teams in the West, like the Spurs too, it's kind of like a track meet, or no, I mean a marathon. Marathon, I'm sorry. It's like a marathon. So to me, they kind of jog first half of the season, and then when that All-Star break comes and everybody gets their rest, that's when they're just like, all right, it's time to take it up a notch. Golden State kind of struggled with that last year when Kevin Durant got injured, which kind of derailed what I think could have been something. Because I think if Kevin Durant stayed healthy, which him and Steph Curry, I think were actually building something, and they were just, like, together they were on fire. And of course, Klay Thompson was playing very well too, Draymond Green. And then they adjusted, and Kevin Durant came back in the playoffs, and they went on that run where they were like, we're not losing, we're not missing shots, we're just not going to do it. We're going to play defense, we're going to score, and you're just going to lose. So now Steph Curry's injured. They said reevaluate within, like, I think it was 2 to 3 weeks, or was it 1 to 2? It was one of those. I think he'll be reevaluated within the next 7 days, maybe. Next 7 days, or is it next? Look, somewhere in between there. Don't quote me. But I think once Stephen Curry comes back, they're going to have what I think is going to be that Kevin Durant slump where there's going to be a readjustment because he hasn't been playing. But the funny thing is, they still went, like, I think 4-0 without him. I don't think they lost a game with Stephen Curry out of the lineup, which really, to me, shows how valuable Kevin Durant is, even though Steph Curry, to me, is the most valuable Warrior because of how he worries the defense, how he stretches the defense past 30 feet up the floor. Kevin Durant is, to me, behind Draymond. Look. He's just so valuable just because I think without Steph, if they didn't have KD, the Warriors would be in a lot of trouble. But they have KD, which I think people don't value his court vision necessarily, but his ability to also create shots for his teammates. So I think he's stepped up his role. He's passing better. He's actually rebounding more, I think, than he did with Steph Curry in the lineup, which to me shows he's willing to take on a bigger role, which is great. Klay has shot good all season, so I'm not really worried about that. One thing I'm worried about is his free throw percentage, but that should probably go up. Not really anything to worry about. Steph Curry's 3-point percentage. Again, when you're shooting 47% from the field, it's not a lot to worry about. But when you're shooting 38% from 3 and you're a 44% 3-point shooter as your career, yikes. But hopefully as the season goes on, he might have one of those 2014, 2015 seasons, not 2015, 2016, just because he's not shooting the ball as much because they have to spread the ball around. But he might have one of those stretches where he could catch fire and kind of take off. Hopefully that's like the second half of the season, because you don't want him to do it really before the All-Star break, because then you kind of tend to cool off and go into a slump, and let's not talk about it because then it'll come true. But anyway, yeah. I would like to see OKC improve. I would like to see that. So I'm going to look for that. So on to baseball, I think everybody's heard about Aaron Judge. No. Sorry, not Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is already on the Yankees. Giancarlo Stanton on the Yankees. Then you have Aaron Judge. Then you have, I forgot his name. He's the catcher. I'll remember his name in a second. I officially think this is not fair. To me, Red Sox GM, or was it president of baseball operations, said, officially, basically, the Golden State Warriors of the MLB. You have 3 home run hitters who can really just, when it's time to hit it, or when you need a big hit, they hit. So it's kind of like depressing when you look at the AL East with all that power. Then as a pitcher, you're just scared. You might as well just walk them. And then if other players get hits and then they end up scoring runs, to me, that's a win for you. Because the fact that if they have other batters on, They got other batters on. Any hit for them is potentially a home run. So to me, you're not risking a lot if you're just really walking batters, which is gonna like mess up your stats. But if you're really all about the stats, you're kind of a yeah, yada yada. I don't like that. But it just now. I like the Red Sox just because I don't know why I do. I just do. I never really liked the Yankees. For some reason, I can't. Okay, look, I can't explain why I like some teams and I don't. I just don't like the Yankees, and maybe because I am a Red Sox fan, but I can't say that's necessarily true. But okay. Um, if the Red Sox really want to have a chance to win the AL East for a third straight year, they got to go get a hitter. They have to do it now. Now, one guy that's on the market everybody knows is if you're following baseball, is JD Martinez, who hit 45 home runs, and actually he hit 36 of those with the Arizona Diamondbacks. It's not a big deal, except he was like third in the major leagues. So I mean, whatever. But I think they need a guy like him in the middle of their lineup, just so to me, they at least have a chance to have a guy on their squad who can really put fear in pitchers and can hit balls deep, because everybody knows they were last in the majors in home runs. Like, you're not going to win games this year doing that against the freaking Yankees, because they have too much power. Any moment, it's gone. Any moment it could be gone. Because with all that power, it's like a ticking time bomb. You throw one bad pitch, the game could be over. That's just what you're looking at here. So, yeah. I mean, I think it's going to heat up a little more, just as it's going down the stretch. I mean, back to basketball, James Harden and freaking LeBron James have really turned it up. I don't know what LeBron James did in the offseason. I don't know why now this year he's like, you know what, without Kyrie, I'm just gonna go do my thing. I'm gonna go get like 8 rebounds, almost 9 assists. I'm gonna go shoot for 3% from 3, 59% from the field. I'm gonna hit about 80% of my free throws. I'm just gonna go after James Harden because right now, in my opinion, even though I'm not the biggest James Harden fan, he's clearly the front runner for MVP. I mean, you just kind of have to look at how he's played, how he's helped the Rockets play, and yeah, right now he's playing like he's the MVP. And I think because he felt he was robbed, which he was robbed of the MVP. So we're not going to argue. Let's just call it like it is. So, yeah. I'm liking what I'm seeing in basketball. I like what I see from the Philadelphia 76ers. Lonzo had a good game tonight. I think he had 17, 8, and 7. So 17 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, only 1 turnover. What I like from Lonzo is that his turnovers aren't high. And for rookies, for me, you see a high turnover percentage or high turnover stat just because they're not used to it. But it seems like to him, he doesn't make a lot of those stupid rookie mistakes that you just don't want to see them make. And he's kind of protecting the ball, which I like to see. So, yeah, I think that's going to do it for me. Like I said, I like what I'm seeing in sports. I've kind of, baseball's really picked up for me for like the last 2 years, and it was weird because after watching the home run derby where freaking Giancarlo Stanton went off and hit, was like 61 home runs in the home run derby, then I was just like, you know what, I gotta start watching baseball. And I did. And then this year was so exciting, just watching, Aaron Judge, watching Giancarlo, watching the Red Sox win without hitting home runs, which was very depressing, but they somehow did it just because I think that it was really their pitching that really kept them in games. Had they not had a good pitching staff, no way they win the AL East. No way they win 93 games. No way they're division champs. So, there's one thing that I do enjoy watching is their pitching staff. That's one thing that you stupid Yankees don't have is a pitching staff. So, well, we one up you in that. So, yeah. So, yeah, it's going to do it. Thank you guys for listening to Brotherly Vibes. Become a part of my SJV Nation, you know what I'm saying? Thank you guys for listening, and you'll have more sports news coming up. Peace.